Hi, I'm Brooke Dibley from Simply Speaking SLT, and you're watching my GoToMeeting Teletherapy demo. So I have a few disclaimers before I start. First of all, I am not affiliated with GoToMeeting. It's just the platform I choose to use for teletherapy. Reasons being that it has all the features I wanted in a teletherapy platform for a reasonable price. We'll have a look at the pricing in a minute. I also just wanted to say that some of the resources I'm going to be showing you today are just general worksheets and things you probably already have in PDF format from your years as a speech therapist, and other activities are activities I've created. They're more just a demo, okay? I'm not saying that you need to buy any of my things to do teletherapy well. I want to show you how to use what you already have, but I also want to demo the different kinds of activities that you can use in a session, and so some of them are activities that I've created. Okay, and also I'm using a Windows computer today. However, everything I do here, except for when I print your PDF, will work on a Mac as well, as far as I know. It should work fine. It should roughly look the same as well. Okay, so all that being said, now let's have a look at the different plans for GoToMeeting, and I'll talk about what I use. So I've got this showing us for monthly payment, because if you're suddenly finding that yourself having to do teletherapy online, you may not want to pay yearly, because this may just be a temporary thing for you. So the cheapest option is $14 a month American, and that's for the professional plan, and it does have most of what you'd need, and there's no reason why you couldn't use that one. However, I use this one just because it has meeting lock, and that means you can use the same therapy room, I say with quotation marks because obviously it's virtual, all day for your sessions, and lock the meetings every time someone comes in, so that if your next student shows up early, they just put in the queue to wait, and you're notified that they're waiting, and then when you're finished with one student, you can let in the next one by unlocking your room. So it just helps with privacy, and it's just easier. And instead of you having to create a different meeting scheduled for every single student with a different link that you have to send every individual student to come to therapy. So I feel like it's worth the extra $5, and that's why I use this one. I also just want to point out my voice quality is a little off. I have a little bit of a head cold, so please forgive me if I sound a little yuck. Okay, so that is GoToMeeting and the different plans and pricing. Now let's have a look at how to create your therapy room. Okay, so this is my GoToMeeting hub, and this is kind of where you can sign in to GoToMeeting, and I've got my rooms over here. If you see, I've got Meet with Brooke and Online Speech Therapy Room. So I do that because I have a Meet with Brooke for when I'm meeting with people for more general things. I meet with my virtual assistant there. I'm in that room. I meet with colleagues in that room, and then the online speech therapy room is a link that I send to my students. So to create your own room, you just go set up your room. Okay, you can also create one-time meetings, which is what you do if you have that cheapest version, and you're going to create a meeting every time for every student. Okay, and then you can look at your history over here, but for privacy reasons, we're not going to do that. Okay, so that is one way to find your rooms that you've set up. Once you've set them up, is to sign into GoToMeeting and go to the hub area, which it automatically takes you to when you log in. Now, the other option is when you first do your first GoToMeeting meeting session, which I highly encourage you to open it up and have a play before your actual first session, you'll download something called the GoToMeeting app. So I'm just going to go search my computer for GoToMeeting. There it is, and I'll open it up and see it looks like this when it opens, and I can see my meetings, and they're here. Okay, so the way I set these up actually are as recurring meetings. Okay, I'm just realizing I didn't set up a room. Well, there you go, that's on me, but I obviously have created a meeting as recurring, and meaning that I can just share the link over and over again and people can come in. So that's on me. I will go have a look at how to set up my room. But so I've gone create meeting, and I've gone online meeting room. There we go. So I have created rooms. I've just done it this way instead. Created it from meeting as opposed to set up room. So you go online meeting room, and then you can change the title. You can set up your these settings here. I always just do computer and mic audio. Long distance numbers does not apply to my caseload, and probably not yours. I mean, this is more for people who have big offices where they call in from their office. And then you can require a meeting password if you want. I don't do that, because if they've got the link, they've got the link, but you can. Okay, so that's how you set up your meeting room. And then from here, let's go back to that app. So see here how it says My Meetings. You can go invite, and when you click invite, I'm not going to open that, again, privacy reasons, but if I want to invite a new parent, like, and send an email to a parent for their student to be able to sign in, I hit invite, and it will open up my email, and the link will be there for my speech therapy room, and I can just copy that link and send that to the parent in the email, or I might want to send it to them in a different way if they're using a different communication system, but the link is there that you then send them. Then they click on that link, and it will take them to a place on the internet that will say, do you want to download the app? So I encourage you to encourage your students and their parents to download the app, because the app is just, it has more features and is more stable than using the in-browser version. But, you know, I'm sure the in-browser version works fine. All of my students are working off the app though. Okay, so then when you want to start it, you just click on it and hit start. And then you can also do that from the website. I can just click here, and then see here, I can just copy the invitation. Oh, I'll have to blur that out. I can copy the invitation and send that, or here is the link. So we've looked at how to invite your students and how to set up your speech therapy room. And now what we're going to do is we'll do a fake session, and I can demonstrate that there. I might have to break this up into a couple of videos. We'll see how we go. Okay, so I'm going to go to my online speech therapy room, and I'm going to go start. So this is in the app. Okay, so I've opened the app on my computer. Okay, and then what's going to happen is you're going to get this window show up, which lets you view what your camera feed looks like and your microphone set up before you go into the meeting, which is really helpful. So normally, to see that thing behind me, it's normally hanging actually off my ceiling right behind me, but at the moment it's on the wall so kids don't see my messy office. So excuse my appearance, guys. I have been quite sick, so I've got those telltale signs of someone who's been blowing their nose a lot, but never mind. I wanted to make this for you guys, so we're just gonna carry on through. Okay, and so once you're happy with your feed and how you're set up for your webcam, you can just say, okay, I'm ready. All right, so I'm here now, and I can see myself up here. We'll have a look at how to make everything bigger in a moment. First, I'm just going to make this full screen, but let me just go set up my fake student to enter our session. Okay, so this pink feed here is my other laptop with a post-it note over the camera. So this is my fake student, and I'm just going to show you how to set up the view so that you and your student can be side by side in camera view. Up here, you can change it to everyone. So what I do is I send a little snippet of this symbol here to the parent of my student and say, hey, can you just make sure that your child is in this view here? The students learn as well how to change it for our session, and it just puts us beside each other, which is nice, because just because you set it up that way doesn't mean that your student will have the view set up that way. They can control it themselves, so just have them set that up like that. Okay, so see how down here there's a little red microphone off for the student? I did that intentionally because I don't want my computer's audio to come through and echo, but if that was there, you would know your student's microphone is off. So you might want to screen share a little message that says, turn your microphone on. You might have a little visual that you screen share, which we'll have a look at how to screen share in a moment. Now let's have a look at the settings and how to share your screen so that you can share some worksheets and stuff. But I just want to point out this view here, I use it a lot for cueing placement, for articulation, when I want to remove all distractions and just have the student practice their speech. So I might quickly turn off screen share for us practicing and say, all right, let's say it 10 times, and then bring screen share back up. I may also use this if I'm like reading a story, or, you know, looking at something more physical that I'm actually holding. But remember, just because your screen is big, well, mine is, you can't tell from this video, but it's massive, doesn't mean your students will be. So you're still only half of their screen, especially if they're using a laptop, which they very likely are. Okay, so if you go up here, you've got these 3 buttons. So this button here is the chat, and you can, you know, send a message. Sometimes I send a message here saying, turn your microphone on if I need to. But most of my students, you know, the first time they realize they can't hear you, so they know how. Kids are real smart with technology. Okay, so, and then here, if we click people, you can see the 2 people. So here's my student. And if we click here beside my student, you can see that it says give keyboard and mouse controls. We're not going to use that yet because we haven't shared our screen, but I just wanted to point out that's where you do it. That's where you give your student control of your keyboard and your mouse. All right, here's me, and this is where I can share my screen. So if I hit this camera, this feed here, I can share my screen, which we'll do in a moment, but settings over here is where you can set up what webcam you're using. So if you had 2 webcams and you wanted to kind of change between them, you could do that here. I mean, not many people do that. You generally probably set up your webcam and your audio in that little like preview area. But just so you know, if you want to check what you're using for audio, as you can see, I don't use a headset. I have a microphone that I just moved down with a pop filter on it because I make videos. So that's really nice, clear audio for my students. However, you can just use a headset because I don't expect that everyone has a microphone like that. And then the audio just comes out of my speakers. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to screen share. So to screen share, all you do is hit this button here. Earlier, I think I said that you hit this button here. I was wrong. It's funny how you do the same thing every day, and yet when you have to go show someone else how to do it, you're like, how did I do that again? Okay, so when you hit that button, you have the chance to share your entire screen or an individual application. I recommend sharing your entire screen so that whatever's on your screen, your students can see it and you don't have to keep swapping around. I do have 2 monitors, as you can see here, it's given me the option of, but in this video, I'm just going to work on 1 monitor. So, because I know that most of you probably only have 1. So I'm just going to hit screen, my main screen, monitor 1, and hit share. And now what my students can see is my screen, and they can't see this tool window over here. And to get your camera feeds back, just hit this grid here. And then I like to change it to who's talking so that I can see my students' feed. You do have the option to detach your cameras and resize the camera feed so it's bigger, okay? And that works best when you've got another monitor you can put them on, so that you can resize it and make it bigger. Or you can also do that here by making it longer. But I do detach my camera feeds, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to. But I do recommend doing that, and it can get bigger. Let me just quickly show you what happens. If we detach the camera feed, it means it's its own window that I can move around, and I can change it to everyone, and I can make it like really big. So you might even choose to have your cameras minimized until you need to see what your student is doing or something like that. I put this full screen on my other monitor, but we're going to attach these back again, and then you can always detach them again if you really need to take a bigger look at what's happening. So I've just paused this video because I want to clarify something. So as much as you want to see your student's face, for some parts of therapy, especially where you're just playing the game, you may not necessarily need to see their face really big. So therefore you'd leave your cameras like this. Then when you want to see them really big, you would either stop sharing your screen so that your faces can be big beside each other, or you click that detach button again, and that will just automatically resize them back to big again like you just saw me do. Okay, so just to clarify, because I'm not sure I made that very clear. So that's really a good tip to know. Okay, so let's have a look now at the type of activities you can do in Teletherapy. So I showed you in a recent story video on Instagram using Adobe Acrobat Reader. So Adobe Acrobat Reader is awesome. Let's make it full screen. Adobe Acrobat Reader is awesome because you can use what you already have. So you may have something like this board game somewhere saved on your computer. You might have something like some speech cards or a fill in the blank story. So we're going to look at today how to use those with the annotation tools in Adobe. And just so you know, what your students will see right now is your screen feed will be underneath for the camera feed of you and your student. So you and your student will be up the top for them, and then what you're sharing on your screen will be underneath. So they're seeing a smaller view than what you are. Okay, so let's just say I want to play this board game. I do have a free Teletherapy dice in my store that you can download and use in Excel. Otherwise, I'm also going to show you another dice alternative you can use. And then for game pieces, I just add a circle using these annotation tools. Now, if these annotation tools don't come up for you, let me just show you. Let me just move this. So this is great. You can just move this. See this like yellow speech mark here that says comment? If you click that comment thing there, sometimes you'll also have this annoying like toolbar pop out that you can just move back in. Okay. Click that yellow comment bar, and then this toolbar will come up, and then you can add in circles and stuff. So as you can see, I've already got circles. When you add a circle, if you click over here, you can change the opacity, and you can change the fill. The opacity just means your students can see through them, and we can just pick them up and drag and drop. Now, so that your students can drag and drop, all you do is go back to here where you can see the people, and you will just click on your student, and you'll right click, and you'll hit give keyboard and mouse. So I right click, and then you'd hit give keyboard and mouse, and then they are able to also control your mouse and move themselves. And if you have to type in a worksheet, when they type on their end, it will come through and type onto your computer. So this is really helpful for the interactive side of therapy, and I really like it. And to me, it's kind of a deal breaker for me with a teletherapy platform, because it just adds to the interactive nature of therapy, and I like it a lot. And also, a lot of my students are a bit older, so they can interact with the computer. So, all right, that's all to be said about that. You would just play this board game as normal with a Teletherapy dice alternative, which we'll look at in a moment. But I also just want to show you speech cards, what you can do. Let's bring up that comment bar again. Push this back in, move this over here, let's get rid of that, bring this back over here. So you can see here what your students can see. Okay, and so you might want to add a box over these and then play like find my speech sound. So you might put a bunch of boxes over top of the different speech cards and then take turns deleting them. And you might play that the first to uncover the lemon wins or something like that. I've just taken my camera feed away because you don't need to see me right now, but you'd normally have it up. Okay, so you could also do noughts and crosses. So if you select the pen, and then you can make the thickness of the line here and the color of the line here, and then you might do noughts and crosses here with your students. And then for fill in the blanks, you can do, let's bring up the comment bar again. It just kind of defaults to whatever it was when you opened it, and I opened these worksheets before this video, so we hadn't brought up the comment bar yet. So, all right. So if you've got a worksheet like this and you want to be able to write on it, you can just grab a text box, or you can just click this add text comment here, and you can just put your mouse right there and start typing words. And you can change the size here, over here, and the color and the font. Let's just move this over a bit more. And then that will be the default, so that when I now write here, it just goes to that size. And now if I want to move that up, I just unclick the T here, and it'll take me off writing mode, and it means I can just move this. So you might instead want to do a text box, and you can do that. Just pop one there. Change the color and the fill like before once you start writing, and then yeah, so see, we can change the fill here, make it white, make the opacity, whatever, it's all there, so you can play around with that. So that is how I would fill in a traditional worksheet. Now let's look at some fun digital resources that have been made for teletherapy. and also some online things that are free that you can use. So some people make and create interactive PDFs, and so this is a good example of an interactive PDF I have. It's a book companion that you can edit. This one I've made for Pig the Pug, and often these will have text boxes that you can type in, so we can type in here. So this is a really good time to have mouse controls with your students, so then they can keyboard and mouse, and then when they type, the answer will be there. Again, you'd normally see each other, but I've got the cameras turned off for now. And so that's one thing. An interactive PDF is a fun activity that's been made to use digitally. Now let's have a look online. So online you can do things called boom cards, which is a really fun activity where people have made virtual kind of task cards or task boards. So this is an activity where you put a picture back together. It's a picture of a cake, and this is targeting S initial, so you've got the grid, and as you put your things on top of it, you say the words, that kind of thing. So Boom Learning is really great and has a ton of speech therapy resources. There's online books like from Epic, but also I normally like to just find the books on YouTube and then right click up here and mute the site, and then we can look at the book and I can read it to my student if I want to. There we go, and I can pause the video and say Pig the Pug, and then you can make it like bigger like this or full screen and read it to your student like that, which is fun. I'm just going to hit exit and get out of full screen mode. And then there's PowerPoint games. Now PowerPoint games are my jam. I love a good PowerPoint game. So this here is a PowerPoint game that I have in my store for free, and you have movable game pieces, and you can go to the spinner and you can spin to see how many spaces you're going to move, and you can spin to see how many times you need to say your speech word, and then move. So these are all things that have been created to use in teletherapy, but you can use what you've got, like what I showed you here in Adobe Acrobat Reader before. I do just want to point out something for PowerPoints. So if you want to be able to split screen, which is a really good thing to be able to do, you in PowerPoint, you go to set up slideshow and you make sure something's browsed in its own individual window by clicking there. And that will mean you can split screen, so that if you did want to play and then split screen it with something else, like your book or maybe your speech cards, then, which still have our annotations on from before, but then you can play the game and have the speech cards. Oops, sorry, let's get rid of that. Play the game beside the speech cards, still have your speech words that you're going to say, and don't worry, you can move this out of the way when you need to see them, but your student can't see this anyway. And then play the game beside it. So being able to split screen's really helpful. So you can open up, websites beside worksheets and things like that, games beside speech cards and things, to use the game as a motivator. So one thing I want to quickly show you right now is Toy Theatre. Toy Theatre is a website that has a bunch of awesome manipulatives that are virtual. So they've got spinners, but they've also got dice. So if we go to dice here, we can choose how many dice we want. Let's do 2. And then we can choose what kind of dice we want. And then we can throw it. Sorry, let me get rid of this. And we can see how many we got. So this is really great for, we'll do 1 and a 6-sided dice and hit throw. And that's really great alternative for board games. And then you might bring up one like this to throw to see how many times you need to say your speech sound. And again, you can just split screen that with your board game that you're moving through, and have your board game bigger if you want. And yeah, that's great. And then throw your dice and then play your board game. So that is a real quick overview, and I've went way longer than I thought I was going to. But let me just check there wasn't anything else that I wanted to show you. Oh, I wanted to show you how to print a PDF. Okay, so let's pretend that you have a PDF that you've downloaded from teachers pay teachers, and you can't annotate on top of it because it's secured, which is fair enough. They're protecting the intellectual property. But what you can do so that you can annotate on top of it is go File, Print, and then I'm going to choose Print to PDF, Microsoft Print to PDF, because I'm on a Microsoft computer. This is the only thing that would be different on a Mac. So Google how to print to PDF on a Mac. And then you go print, and it'll ask you to save it somewhere on your computer, and it'll make a new PDF that doesn't have security. And it's flattened all of the content from the TPT seller, so it's kept the PDF secure, yet you can now annotate on top of it. Okay, so that was that. I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that this kind of put into visual representation what teletherapy kind of looks like. And I'll just show you how to stop sharing your screen. You just hit the stop share button. My computer's gone to sleep. That's why this is paused. My other laptop has gone to sleep. But yeah, I hope that's been helpful, guys. This is how I use GoToMeeting for therapy. If you have any questions, reach out to me. This is much longer than I thought it was going to be, so it's not going to be able to be a IGTV video. I will put it on YouTube probably. Anyway, take care, guys. Reach out if you have any questions. Bye!